Canada is known as one of the top 10 safest countries to live in. That is true for most people who live in Canada, but for the rest, it's a different story. As for most people, clean drinking water is a must for someone's health, and there shouldn't be a problem acquiring it. But when living as an Indigenous in a reserve, something so common can become so rare. Today, there are still communities without clean drinking water, especially communities that are a lot more secluded than others. A report back in 2021 shows that there are still 33 communities that still have active drinking water advisories. When Justin Trudeau was elected in 2015, he promised to end long-term drinking water advisories by 2021. As of March 2022, there is still 21% left of drinking water advisory left to solve. As communities wait for their solution, the residents are tasked to acquire clean drinking water in other ways in order to survive, such as spending large amount of money from their own pockets to manage a water facility or purchasing a big amount of water every week.
Now we will address the issue of why the water in Indigenous communities is unclean. The reason that the water cannot be consumed is because there's a risk of E. coli, parasites, cancer-causing chemicals, and uranium. Some of these are naturally occurring, and others result from organic material in dirty source water, reacting with chemicals meant to disinfect it. In the communities of Grassy Narrows and Wabaseemoong in Ontario, mercury contaminated a river. 90% of the people suffered from the symptoms of mercury poisoning, including the loss of feeling in their fingers and toes. The water is still contaminated to this day. The community of Curve Lake cannot drink their water because it is contaminated by E. coli. As a result, the community has dealt with multiple drinking water advisories over the years. Lastly, communities without access to running water must have it shipped in. Unfortunately, the water is added to already contaminated cisterns. In some cases, water is tainted by parasites and bacteria that occur naturally. But the real reason that all of this occurred is because the provincial regulations governing safe drinking water and sanitation, which protect the health of most Canadians, does not extend to First Nations reserves.
Water quality solutions. So what's being done in order to fix the problem? One way the Government of Canada has decided to fix the water crisis is by creating the new Canada Water Agency, which should modernize the water policy. The creation of the new agency was first announced in 2020 and is expected to be running by 2022. Currently, water issues are regulated by the Canada Water Act, which was proclaimed way too long ago back in 1970. In June of 2021, the Government of Canada passed a bill that requires Canadian law to be aligned with the United Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which recognizes Indigenous sovereignty over decisions that affect their interests. The Indigenous communities will be included in the CWA and hopefully work with provinces and territories to come up with a solution. Although progress has been made, there is still work to be done. Another solution is by training the Indigenous communities to properly address their own water quality issues. Adequate education, which includes in-hand job experiences at water treatment plants, will allow Indigenous people to properly control their water as a water operator.